Hello dear chess lovers. White to play in this position, and you find Anand's multi-purpose move with the white pieces that to me signifies one of the most beautiful moves in chess history because it's like a Swiss watch. It has so many functions. It's a very rare thing in chess that a single move can give you 4 or 5 different advantages and have so many good points. Please stop the video. Maybe you know the game before. Otherwise, that's a great opportunity for you to come up with a great strategic move for white in this position. What would you do? Folks, let's go through this together. That's a Benoni pawn structure we are speaking about, right? This queenside pawn majority for black versus central majority for white in this position. What else are you seeing? I'm seeing potentially weakened dark squares around the black king. I am seeing that e5 is potentially a strong pawn break for white in this very structure. I am seeing an open a file, potential target on b5, but I'm also seeing potentially a poor piece on e3. That knight does nothing on e3, restricted in his pawn chain, and he's also getting in the way, right, of our rook in supporting the push e4, e5. I am seeing, for example, moves like knight g5 that black can improve their terrible knight and offer a piece trade, potentially. My queen also would love to join those dark squares on the king side. So these are my observations so far about this position. So this orientation phase is bringing me to this idea that I should move my knight from there, right? Given what we've seen so far. But which square should the knight go to? That's the key question, right? Should we go to c2 or f1 or d1, let's say? How would you choose? Which move is the most multifunctional for white to make? You're a great player, folks, if you found Anand's amazing move, knight d1. This is probably one of the most beautiful moves made by Vishy Anand in his entire life. And this was played against Kamsky in candidates final in 1995 that led to a beautiful victory. Again, what are the points of this move? We are stopping knight g5, we are introducing queen h6, we are supporting the break e5. Now the rook is eyeing that e5 square, plus the knight wants to go to c3 to put pressure on the weakness on b5. Thus, we want to freeze black's queenside pawn majority. We are stopping black in pushing those pawns and generating a passed pawn on that side of the board. This is why this move is so multifunctional, and we'll see how Anand won this game from this position, folks. Very briefly, I will show you the moves. Knight a6. Well, they have to somehow move the knight away to be able to push the move c4, right, to create a passed pawn on that side of the board. But comes Anand's move, knight c3, folks. He's putting pressure on the pawn on b5, and thus he's forcing the pawn move b4. But that's not a move that black would like to make, because now the entire thing is frozen on the queen side, correct? So this entire pawn majority is frozen. It will be so difficult for black to generate a passed pawn on that side of the board. If they play the move knight c7 instead, well, this was white's plan, right? Put more pressure on b5, thus force the move b4, and you have the same position basically. We'll come back to this position and why that is so relevant, that white is stopping all counterplay on the queen side before pushing the central pawn to e5. So knight c3 is a great move. b4 was Kamsky's choice, and Anand goes knight b5. That knight is a very annoying piece on b5, difficult to chase away. Also put pressure on b6. This forced knight c7, and Anand offered an exchange on its own terms with the move bishop d3. That poor bishop improves, and now he takes on b5 with tempo on the rook. But more importantly, this bishop is stopping c4, and the entire thing is frozen after the beautiful retreat bishop c4. Another multi-purpose move, because this bishop stops c4 but also supports d5. Thus, white is getting ready for the push e4, e5, correct? So now everything is ready for e5, and black has no counterplay left on the queen side. And that's all because of the move knight d1 to c3, folks. You see, the king is also less safe. The black king is less safe than the white counterpart. e5 is coming soon. White already has a big advantage in this position, folks. Knight f6, queen h6. The queen invades. After queen f8, should we trade the queens? No, because our king is safer. Anand keeps massaging black in his position with the move queen g5, queen g7, comes rook a7. Every single piece is activated. White is having a clear winning advantage. And you see how he plays accurately all the way to the end. Rook b8, forcing full paralysis. Now those rooks are totally tied down, and that's the right time for our pawn break. You guessed it right, e5. You see the timing of the pawn break. First, he maximizes every single piece, then goes for the break, which was unstoppable to begin with. Knight e8 was played. If you take on e5, by the way, folks, comes d6, hit the rook, followed by knight takes e5, and this rook is overworked on the bishop. Thus, white wins. If he tries knight takes d5 in his position, then e takes d6 anyways, and this rook is again paralyzed. And now this knight is also semi-hanging, and white can remove the defender by taking that bishop first. And if you take the bishop, then I'm winning a piece with a winning position. Isn't it beautiful? All tactics are working for white. Why? Because white has so much better pieces. Tactics flow from good positions in chess. It's not a surprise that things are collapsing for black. So he tried knight e8 in his position, but Anand finds this nice sequence, takes, simplify, but invade the 8th rank with the queen. After queen f8 comes the final piece, joining the attack with rook a1, followed by rook a8, of course, the huge threat. This forced knight c7, but Anand found the move queen d7, still putting so much pressure on black's position. They cannot move the knight because of the pin. Otherwise, if you take my pawn on a5, there are moves like this, right? Just game over. So queen d7, queen b8 was Kamsky's move. You see, black's pawns are still frozen, folks. He has no counterplay. He's forced to passive defense in his position, unfortunately. But white can even take one more pawn. Now white won a clear pawn. White won the second pawn, and black basically wants to use this pawn to gain some sort of counterplay, and comes the final phase. Anand converts in a very instructive fashion, because there's a pawn on the second rank, but everything is well defended. The queen returns back to defense. Very careful play from white. Queen b3, queen d4. Put pressure here, but also the queen will serve a great goal on that square. Another multi-purposeness will be seen very soon, folks. Knight g5. He says, your king is not safe, and I'm going to put more pressure with my pieces on the queen side. And after rook c3, you see, he's sort of hinting at moves like rook c1, and here Anand finds another multi-purpose move. Please stop the video, folks, and tell me which move Anand played in his position that basically finished off the game. You're a great player if you found the move queen f4, both hitting f7, but also stopping rook c1 checks. Isn't it beautiful? That's another multi-purpose move, combining attack and defense at the same time, right? So how can you defend f7? It's impossible. If the queen returns back, then I can take on b2 with a winning position. So Kamsky tried f5, but comes e takes f6, and now this pawn is huge, folks. After knight takes d5, he was counting on this pin, but comes the final phase. Again, please stop the video and find that winning line for white. Yes, f7 check is a very simple move, and black resigned, because if king f8, then you tell me the next move. Knight e6 check, followed by queen, followed by queen f7 mate. That's beautiful. And after f7 check, if they try the move king g7, what is the quickest finish for white, folks? There are many ways to win, but I pretty much like the forcing sequence. f8 equals queen. Yes, you can take on f8, but comes knight fork, knight e6, and 3-ply calculation wins the game for white. Beautiful. So after f7 check, Kamsky resigned this game. Incredible game, folks. And we can even go back to the very beginning to basically see how the game evolved. It started from a Spanish opening, by the way. Interesting. Starts from Spanish structure, transposes to a Benoni structure in the middle game. Yeah, that's interesting. So classical roulette pass. Zaitsev variation with bishop b7, of course, right? Black has several different ways to play this. And you see a very, very typical standard Spanish structure so far. Here, black transforms the pawn structure of the knight b4 followed by c5 soon, right? We are ending up in the Benoni structure. Already here, bishop g7 signifies the Benoni bishop, and black will play c5 at some point, and the structure will be set, just like here, right? Now we are playing a Benoni after the move d5. A typical Benoni structure with the backward pawn on d6, but black has the queenside pawn majority and also a strong bishop on the long diagonal, while white is always going for this e5 break in the middle game. Very, very interesting imbalance middle game, but Anand's treatment was so interesting. Here he exchanged the bishops to weaken the black king a little bit after knight e3, h5 to stop knight g4, folks, right? Because he was already hinting at knight g4 ideas. Comes queen d2, stopping c4, right? Every move is an idea. By playing queen d2, white is stopping black pawns in pushing forward on the queen side. This bishop is quite poor, that knight is quite poor, and after king g8 comes Anand's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful multi-purpose move, knight d1, folks. Again, can we learn from this? That's the key question, right? Look, by looking at these examples, can we extract the right lessons? That's what I'm after. That was the reason I created a Chessable course, The Art of Multi-Purpose Moves. In that course, I show you those beautiful positions, beautiful moves, and explain to you step by step, listing you all the ideas behind such strategic multi-purpose moves. All the positions in that course is such strategic multi-purpose moves with multiple functions. It's a great thing in life, right? To solve multiple problems with the same move. So knight d1 is a beautiful move. Once again, what it does to white's position. And that, by the way, that's a knight retreat. Knight retreats are the most difficult moves to spot in chess. So geometry of the move is also, right, adding value to its strength. Knight d1 prepares knight c3 to freeze the queenside pawns, stops knight g5 trade, hints at queen h6 infiltrations, and prepares the break e5. 4 great functions to this move. If one move in chess has 4 great advantages, it must be a good move, folks, right? It must be a good move. And Anand was very proud of this move. I listened to some of his interviews later on, right? Even in Indian chess circles, this move is seen as one of Anand's chess classics. And it's so much so is that, yeah, the entire game is sort of remembered as that beautiful knight d1 game against Kamsky in the candidates, right? So by putting pressure on b5, see how he freezes the queenside majority, how he plays on both sides of the board, how he stabilizes the position on the queen side, and once all counterplay stopped, he's starting his play with the move e5, right? That's how masters treat this beautiful game of chess. They always have great board vision, they look at the opponent's ideas, they want to stop them, and they want to minimize counterplay before engaging in plans. Even here, right? He can play e5 in all these moves. He doesn't. Most of us mortals would rush and play e5. Here he maximizes to his pieces all together. He paralyzes the black pieces, and only then he pushes e5. You can learn tremendously from such chess classics, and I hope this game was very useful for you guys to sort of, internalize some of those lessons. And again, multi-purpose moves, to my mind, are the most beautiful type of chess move that shows us true beauty of chess. And also by listing those points, by asking ourselves why those moves are so powerful, we can learn, we can get better at chess strategy. This was the goal of my course on Chessable, and hopefully after studying that course, by looking at those rich examples, your strategic play will improve and your moves will be much more goal directed. You will ask yourself those basic questions and try to solve multiple problems with a single move. Please give me a like and subscribe if you like this video, folks, and I will produce similar content for you in the future. Thank you.